Hey, my name is Tish Drake. I'm VP of Aviation for Access Intelligence, which includes our Global Connected Aircraft Summit, Avionics International, and Aircraft Value News. And I'm here with Mark Holmes, who is our program chair for Global Connected Aircraft Summit. And Mark, this is a little bit of a switch because you're usually the one interviewing people and I am the one interviewing you today. So are you nervous?
Yeah, I'm not sure I like this, but I said I'd give it a go and answer some questions for once. So yeah, it's slightly new for me but yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to having a chat, talking about what we're going to be doing for the summit and one or two other things.
And if you all don't know, Mark is a really busy man. Mark is content director for Via Satellite magazine. He also is in charge of the CyberSat events. There's 2 events coming up for that, as well as our launch of our virtual event series for Global Connected Aircraft Summit, which is called Cabin Chats. He also helps out with the satellite show. So this man is busy. So I'm glad that he's taking the time to talk with me today. So Mark, during this whole pandemic thing, I know it's been crazy and we've had to pivot and adjust and everybody else has had to, and they're working from home. Although you and I have worked together for a very long time and we've worked from home for a very long time. So in that case, it's not that much different for us, but how's your life changed?
Well, the big change is obviously the lack of travel. I mean, when you're going to events, not just events that you're a chair of or speaking at, but even events you're attending, they're a big part of your working life. And obviously, sadly, not just our events, but a number of other events have had to be sort of postponed. So, things like Aircraft Interiors, which is a great event in Hamburg that we've missed out on meeting some of our airline friends. And then you look at our events. We were going to do a big cyber SATCOM launch event in May in Los Angeles, and obviously our Global Connected Aircraft Summit in Denver as well. So I suppose the frustrating thing from my part is obviously we had some great programs, some great speakers lined up for some of the events that we were doing this year, and we were obviously not able to bring those to our communities. So it's frustrating. But the one thing I would say is, this is maybe the first event in my lifetime where it genuinely feels like this is a global experience, that it's affecting everybody you talk to. So whether it's your close family, your friends, your colleagues, or people that you deal with on a professional basis, everybody's lives in some form have been turned upside down by this. So there is a sense that we are all in it together. We're all trying to work. We're all trying to do our best to protect our loved ones and try and be creative in, particularly if you work in publishing and media, to try and be creative, to try and do things which hopefully will continue to serve our community while we wait to hopefully bring back the physical events at some point. So it has been challenging, but as a family, I think we've adjusted. As you know, I work from home, so I think it's more my family are having to adjust to me being home all the time. I think that's the bigger adjustment. They're used to having little breaks from me and not seeing me for a week, and then you have a nice reunion. And obviously, I'm home all the time, so I think it's maybe a bit more difficult for them than it is for me.
Yeah, for sure. What have you been doing with maybe some of the extra time you have traveling? I know that you are a music aficionado. Like you like music, you have kind of an eclectic taste. What have you been listening to these days?
I like to listen to a lot of new artists, as you know. I mean, it's sort of funny, really. I feel like I've gone the opposite, like to most like normal people, in the sense that when I was a teenager, my music taste was very mainstream and was all the big famous acts. Whereas now I listen to a lot of bands that are maybe, or artists that are, hopefully on their way up, first, second album. So just to give you sort of one or two examples, one of my favorite albums of last year was by a US artist called Ways Blood, which is a very country, acoustic-y type album. Sounds a bit like, to me, a little bit like the Carpenters. It's very melodic. It's a truly stunning album. I'd recommend anyone giving that a listen. Another band that I've discovered recently is a UK band called The Big Moon, which is very, it's more sort of like indie pop. And for those who know Florence and the Machine, another UK artist, that they may well like that. So they're the two recently of new artists. And I'll just mention one more for those who like a bit of Britpop and some more guitar-based stuff. I really love an Australian band at the moment called the DMAs, which is very much in like the Britpop, Arctic Monkeys, Oasis type style. So DMAs, Big Moon, and Ways Blood are the new ones that I'm listening to. And what are you listening to, Tish?
Oh, I am not on the same planet as that. So you brought up the Carpenters, and I remember growing up and my mom had the best of the Carpenters, I think it was, and I would play that. At the time, it was probably a cassette. No, it was probably a record. Like over and over again when I was cleaning house. I loved the Carpenters, so I love that sort of singer-songwriter, folky sort of sound. So I'm going to have to check it out. But if you ask me who I'm listening to and what really gets me going is Sophie Tucker. I like Sophie Tucker, which is kind of electronic pop.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds, I mean, I think, I listen to a lot of different things, always, and we can tell people that Access Intelligence, we have a music channel on our Slack, so people are able to make recommendations. We even have people in the company in bands and other people who've released records as well. So we have very talented musicians, not looking at anyone, of course, who've actually done some really cool stuff. So, music, I mean, it's interesting. We talk about the pandemic, but we're finding things that unite us and things that we can talk about. And, whether it's talking about, how our lives have changed, what music we're listening to, what things we're watching, or just even like mental health issues and how we're coping with everything. We're finding that I think there's a lot more that unites us than divides us. And it's great that, I sort of feel as a person, even though I didn't necessarily see myself as a closed book, that I feel like I'm wanting to be more open. I'm wanting to share experiences is more, perhaps more than what I did before. And I'm seeing that with other people as well.
Yeah. I feels like this time has allowed us to get to know people in our industry on a more personal level, because we've just had that time to connect and ask how their family is doing and concern about, how they're holding up under the circumstances. And I like that. It feels nice to be able to learn more about people personally, because it develops those relationships. And I really do miss getting together face to face with people in the industry and seeing them and talking to them. So, that's why we're launching this virtual event series. So Mark, tell us about what you think we can expect coming up June 22nd through the 26th.
Well, I think before we say what we expect is really just to look at the background of it first, because I think that's really important. I mean, obviously, like most publishing companies, we look at health and safeguarding our team members as well as people that come to our events. And it was fairly obvious that, as the year was going on, that we were not going to be able to put the physical event in Denver. Unfortunately, we were going to have to postpone that. And I think we did that pretty early and made a very sensible decision. But when we look at the sort of online thing, I think one of the first things we looked to do was, let's, and it's strange maybe for a publishing company to say this, but let's not look at it from a revenue model right now. Let's look about what we can do in terms of serving the community. How can we engage with them? How can we provide them things that that hopefully will provide them something a little bit different? So we have a fantastic advisory board with a number of great airline people and a number of people traditionally that have come from our sponsors who've joined together and talked about this. And what we found out, and it was a surprise, that rather than doing like maybe replicating the physical event in an online thing was actually, let's talk about short, sharp bursts of content, and things where people can dip in and out. They don't have to spend all day, but if there are certain sessions they want to come to, that could go really well. So before we even started talking about the content, we actually, I think, talked about the format a lot more first. So we're thinking about, how can we get the format right? How can we get a format where we think, hopefully people will engage with? And then after that, we talked about some of the topics. And I think what we looked at is, how can we, particularly with our airline people that we had on the board, and we've got some tremendous people on that board who've been instrumental in helping us build that show over the last few years. And we really just wanted to hear, we weren't necessarily expecting them to come and speak, but what sort of content might be of interest, and how can we sort of provide that? So we really sort of, and again, I say it's very unusual for a publishing company, because, when you launch events, when you launch publications, you very much look at, well, what's the bottom line? How are we going to make money out of this? Whereas I think we approached this very differently this time. We thought, we actually saw this more as like a community engagement tool, and something like in which we can, ultimately, obviously, you do hope it builds into, something that you can maybe look as a revenue generator going forward. But I think initially we weren't thinking that. We were thinking about, let's see if we can provide content that is different, entertaining, informative, educational, and hopefully find the right format in which to do that. So that's really the background, and then that's a long-winded answer to the start. But your actual question is, what can people learn? They can learn an awful lot. We're going to have the top technology providers talking about the state of the industry and really how they can work with airlines going forward, because they're in the same boat as us in many ways as a publishing company. They rely on airlines, business jet operators to sell them technology, to sell them solutions that will enable airlines to be successful in the future. And obviously some of those plans are going to be put on hold at the moment. So what we're really trying to do is really get the discussion going, and how hopefully airlines can operate efficiently in a I guess you call it a post-COVID environment. It's even a COVID environment. It's not even a post-COVID environment yet. But also, the whole reason of our event was to talk about connected aircraft and connected technology. We've never been an event to talk about seat interiors or things like that. We've always been talking about the technology piece. And I think going forward, the technology piece is going to be more important than ever, not just for airlines, but in life. I mean, you look at remote education, remote healthcare. You look at airlines being able to generate confidence in customers to go to airports. We were hearing things like temperature checking at airports and use of AI. So actually the technology piece is only, I think anyway, going to be more important going forward. So really, in a sense, the event is looking to just really be a staging post or a starting point for some of these discussions. It's content that's maybe 1 hour, 2 hours max a day. You can dip in. You don't have to go every day. You can pick one or two things. We've also got one or two different things in there as well. We've got like someone, Rob Saunders, ex-Cathay Pacific, to talk about how maybe someone from an airline can put a business plan together to go to the C-suite to persuade them the merits. Because to be frank, there's going to be a lot more, airlines are going to be even more careful than they were before in terms of how they spend their CapEx dollars. So, we've tried to sort of really listen to our advisory board in terms of topics, in terms of what we think might work, and put together a program that is, where the format is right and it's diverse, but it sort of talks about the issues that they would really want to talk about. So we're hoping we have a good airline attendance. I think what for me would be a successful event is just to have the community really engage with us and engage with this event, and then we can obviously reassess the situation after the summer and see what we can do next. So I'm excited about it. I haven't done virtual events before, pretty much like everyone else, and so it's a challenge for me, both personally, professionally, as well as our team as well at AI. I mean, we're all having to adjust to a new reality, and it's a challenge. There's no doubt about that. But I feel like we've built a good community. We've had a great event for 6-7 years. And aviation is an exciting market. If you think about aviation in terms of what it is, it's about people going from A to B and seeing the world, having great experiences, and airlines are really the way in which a lot of the times we can do that. So we all want to have those experiences again, both professionally and personally, and the connected aircraft ultimately will be more important than ever going forward. It's just obviously this is going to be a difficult period for everyone involved, whether you're an airline, a solution supplier, an aircraft manufacturer, or a media publisher outlet like ourselves.
And I think our goal is really to facilitate those conversations, bring people together, keep everybody meeting and talking about the future and how we can rebound quickly or more quickly. And we're putting on these series. We're going to actually have one a quarter because we want some consistency in gathering and meeting as a community and talking together. So obviously our first one is in June. We will have another one in September and another one in December, same sort of format. And just so you all know, up through June 5th, you can register for free by using code FREEREG. So go to www.gcasummit.com and click on cabin chats and go ahead and register and use this code. Everyone has free registration through June 5th. So do that as soon as possible. We encourage you to do that. Any final thoughts, Mark?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really great event. I mean, I will say it's going to be a learning curve for us. I mean, I'm doing 2 virtual events in June, having done none in my previous 40+ years. So it's going to be a new experience for me. But, I'm really proud of the team as well. I mean, I'm proud, these are not easy times to be in publishing because we're all having to pivot and make changes. But, everyone is, we talk about global experiences being united. Everybody is working tremendously hard to try and find ways in which we can engage with the community. So we're going on a learning curve, and that's exciting. I think I've sort of been saying to people, it's like a little bit of another reinvention, and you have to reinvent yourself a little bit. And we're trying to reinvent ourselves as publishers and content creators, and that's a big challenge because we've got used to doing things a certain way for so long. So I think it's going to be a very good, very positive experience for us. I'm looking forward to engaging with the community. I'm also looking forward to figuring out what we can do better after the first one, how we can make changes, refine the experience, and make it even better in September and December. So I think I would just encourage the community to come and join us. Tell us what you think. You don't have to attend every session. It's a virtual event, so even if you only attend one or two, that's fantastic. There'll be some networking as well. We really want to hear from you. We can only put on great events if we really know what the community wants, and the only way we really know what the community wants is if they really engage with us. So I encourage you. I hope you enjoy it. I hope even whether you're there 10 minutes, whether you're there 3 or 4 hours, we value each and every one of you, and we look forward to working with you and continuing to hopefully build what we think is a pretty cool event and a pretty cool experience.
Yep. And real quick, before we end, Mark, do you want to mention some of the speakers that we've already got confirmed?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got some really good speakers. We've got airline speakers from the likes of Saudia, Qatar, Allegiant. We've got, we've got big technology solutions providers involved like Honeywell, Collins, Smart Sky. So a real mix of different people within the industry, from I guess you'd say both sides of the divide. You know, we're very lucky. We have very good contacts in this community, and you know, they very generously have decided to support us, particularly with this new launch, and you know, and a very different type of launch as well. So we really appreciate that. So yeah, we have some great speakers, still some more to come as well, hopefully. Yeah, we've yeah, I think it'll be good. I think, you know, we've got Woodrow Bellamy, the third, the editor of Avionics, involved, and anyone who knows avionics know Woodrow's the definition of an influencer. So he's putting together some great sessions. You know, just excited to be a part of it. I think as a content creator, you know, we talked about music at the start of it, and it's like, you know, when you make a good record, a good song, your goal is for as many people to listen to it as possible. And you know, while I would not necessarily compare myself to, you know, some of the great musicians, you know, as a content creator, you know, we have to adapt, and we want to put great content together and have that content hopefully absorbed by as many people in the community as possible. And so that's really the ultimate goal for Cabin Chats.
Yep. Well, and hopefully I can get Woodrow to come on and be interviewed as well. But as we know, he's a man of few words. Most of his words are in writing.
You know, Woodrow would be great. I mean, as you know, I'm a bit of a talker, so I could, you know, probably talk for hours. Whereas, you know, I think maybe the community may prefer Woodrow's approach and just have a short, sharp approach rather than the more English stuffy approach, which is maybe something that I'm more suited to.
Well, thank you, Mark. Appreciate your time. And please, if you haven't already, go to gcasummit.com and register for our Cabin Chats event. And really, from our homes to your homes, we do, our hearts are with you. We are thinking about everybody out there that's being impacted by this pandemic, and our thoughts and prayers are with you. And we look forward to seeing you virtually at our event. All right. Thank you, and have a great day.
Thanks, Tish.